December the 12th, 2021. 5 o'clock ticks over at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi, and today is race day. With the sun setting in the desert, 70,000 spectators take their spot around the 5.28 kilometre track, ready to watch the 22nd and final race of the season. A controversial race that decides one of the most thrilling and intense battles in sporting history. 19 cars take their position on the starting grid, waiting to navigate 58 laps. But this race is only about two drivers. One is a 7-time world champion seeking an unprecedented 8th Drivers' Trophy. The other is a young challenger looking to be the first ever Dutch driver to raise that trophy. After 21 grueling races exchanging blows around the globe, both drivers are lined up side by side for one last duel. An epic winner-takes-all showdown.
You couldn't script it any better if you tried.
Entering the season finale, Lewis Hamilton's 2021 campaign had seen him collect 8 Grand Prix wins and 369.5 points, while Max Verstappen's campaign had seen him collect 9 Grand Prix wins and 369.5 points. Remarkably, the two title contenders have entered the final round level on points for the first time since 1974. How could they be tied down to the half point? That's the story for a different time because points no longer matter. Now, only this race matters, and the first driver to take the checkered flag will be crowned the world champion. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen have been testing each other's limits all season, resulting in several vicious on-track battles. This history has led to concerns that one driver may deliberately cause a collision in an attempt to seal the championship. This tactic is not unheard of in Formula One and has been applied in the past by some of the sport's biggest names. If both drivers were to DNF or finish outside the points, Verstappen would be titled world champion due to his extra Grand Prix win over Hamilton. The race director, Michael Masi, threatened severe sanctions from the FIA if either driver tried to manufacture a collision, including championship disqualification and future race bans. This would ensure the gripping championship battle would be won on track, rightfully where it should always be. Unbeknownst to Masi at the time, this would be the last race he directs. Formula One is the pinnacle of motor racing, so the FIA was very public about its strict standards regarding a clean and fair race. Verstappen expressed that the media was responsible for this narrative, and he was only interested in being the best prepared to do the best he could. Hamilton said he didn't want to see the stewards any more than they want to see him. Mercedes dominated the turbo hybrid era and led the 2021 Constructors' Championship with 587.5 points. They had a narrow 28-point lead over Red Bull, who had proved to be a serious title contender this year. With 44 points still up for grabs, it would also be the first time since 2008 that the Constructors' Championship would be decided in the final round. Red Bull has the upper hand after qualifying in 1st and 4th, while Mercedes managed to start from 2nd and 6th on the grid. With everything still to play for, the stakes have never been higher for the teams and their drivers.
You couldn't script it any better if you tried.
Verstappen clinched pole position in qualifying by setting a time of 1 minute 22 seconds .109. Max utilised the slipstream courtesy of his teammate Sergio Perez and outpaced Hamilton by 0.03 of a second. However, both drivers set their fastest Q2 times on different tyres, locking them into opposing strategies for race day. Hamilton would start the Grand Prix on the more durable medium tyre, while Verstappen was on the faster soft tyre. While Max won the qualifying battle, the Mercedes was notorious for its race pace, and it was hard to tell who had the advantage. Alone in their cockpits with nothing left to do now but drive, would Hamilton win a record-breaking 8th driver's title and overtake Michael Schumacher as the greatest of all time? Or would Verstappen seize the opportunity and add his name to an illustrious list of Formula One world champions? The pressure couldn't be higher, and the tension could be felt wherever you watched the race. Lewis had been at the pinnacle of the sport for many years now, and at times during the season, he looked tired as he fought hard to keep his throne. Max was just reaching his peak, and had made it clear he was willing to do whatever it took to take the crown. Even their driving styles were very different. Lewis was known to be a clean and precise driver on track, while Max was ultra aggressive and pushed the limits. But they both had one thing in common. Neither was willing to back down from a fight. Anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does.
The lights go out and it's game on.
The drivers launch off the grid. Hamilton gets a dream start and passes Verstappen immediately to take the inside line into turn 1 and lead the Grand Prix. Max has to slot into second for now, but both drivers make it through cleanly and without incident. The pace in the Mercedes already looked strong. Still, Verstappen was sticking to the back of Hamilton, looking to make a counter-attack. The Red Bull gets a slipstream from the Mercedes down the back straight, allowing Verstappen to pull out from behind to make a deep lunge into turn 6. The late maneuver catches Hamilton out by surprise after he left the door open. Max knows that he needs to get the pass done quickly if he is to have any chance of winning the race, as clean air is king. Lewis is forced wide and has to take avoiding action, leaving the track and cutting turn 7. The Dutch fans could be heard roaring in the grandstands, but Lewis rejoins the track ahead of Max, now with a sizable lead. Max radios in.
He has to give that back.
Lewis radios in.
Push me off track.
The incident was referred to the stewards, and they concluded that no further investigation was necessary. Hamilton would be allowed to keep the lead and his gap advantage. Red Bull continued to argue their point, but Michael Massey was happy that any advantage Hamilton had gained in the shortcut was given back. It took half a lap for the stewards' role to be questioned in this race, and true to their word, they stayed out of the battle. Whether or not it was the right call is an entirely different question. After the first skirmish, the race settled into a rhythm, and it looked like Max didn't have an answer to Lewis's pace out in front. With the gap gradually extending, Red Bull calls Verstappen into the pits on lap 14 to make what should be his one and only pit stop of the race.
Box.
His crew changes the tyres to a fresh set of hards without incident. In response, Hamilton dives into the pits the very next lap for his one and only pit stop, and comes out ahead of Verstappen with an 11-second advantage. Unfortunately for Lewis, he rejoins in second place behind the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez, who's been instructed to hold Lewis up as much as possible. On lap 20, Hamilton catches up to Perez and needs to dispose of him quickly, but more importantly, cleanly. Perez defends each corner hard, placing his car perfectly on track and makes his Red Bull as wide as possible. Every time it looked like Hamilton got past Perez, the Mexican driver fought back, braking harder and later to keep him behind. Checo frantically checks his mirrors as he fends off the Brit. The battle's intensity was not unlike two fighter pilots engaged in a brutal dogfight, as the 7-time world champion struggled to pass the 0-time world champion. Perez continued to cause Hamilton an enormous problem the entire lap. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff radios into Michael Massey.
It's a bit dangerous. Can you warn them?
Still, Massey would again stay out of the race as he saw it as nothing but hard racing. Finally, on lap 21, Lewis passes Sergio and regains the lead, which had now diminished to just 1 second over Max. Sergio's spirited defense brought Max back into play and earned him the title of Mexico's Minister of Defense. Verstappen would remain in the Mercedes mirrors though, as Hamilton got to work building his lead back up. Lap after lap, Lewis dominated Max with raw pace, and lap after lap, Max had no answer. Dejected, Red Bull's team principal Christian Horner admitted they would need a miracle in the last 10 laps to turn it around. With 5 laps to go and 13 seconds behind, Verstappen's race was all but over as Hamilton looked untouchable. Hamilton was soon to be crowned the undisputed king of Formula One, and Verstappen's opportunity to be world champion had faded away. The heavyweight bout we all expected to go down to the last lap looked like a fizzer. But the F1 gods had other plans. Lap 53. Nicholas Latifi puts his Williams into the barriers, which deploys the safety car, and suddenly changes everything. The Yas Marina circuit is one of the more forgiving tracks on the calendar if a driver makes an error, but you could trust Latifi to find a way to crash. Hamilton's demoralizing lead over Verstappen would now evaporate. Red Bull gambles and immediately calls Verstappen in for a fresh set of soft tyres.
Box, box, box.
Mercedes opts for track position instead, keeping Hamilton out with old hard tyres. If the race finishes under safety car conditions, Hamilton would seal the win. But if there is more racing, he'd be left potentially exposed on those old boots. You could hear the concern in Hamilton's voice when he learned from his team that Verstappen had been able to fit fresh rubber. Filled with renewed optimism, Red Bull's race was suddenly alive again. But with only 4 laps remaining, would the race restart in time for Max to take advantage of them? Latifi's car had to be removed from the track. The field needed to be neutralised and compressed. 7 lapped drivers, now including the 5 between Hamilton and Verstappen, had to be waved past, and then the safety car needed to return to the pits. If this was a race in June, it would have likely finished under the safety car. But this wasn't a race in June. These were the final laps of the 2021 season. After 1,237 completed laps this season, would the final 2 laps really go on to finish under yellow flags? Was this the ending the fans hoped for? Was this the ending Michael Masi and the FIA hoped for? The race was slipping away as the recovery of Latifi's car took longer than expected. Race control decided the 7-lap cars would not be allowed to unlap themselves, which meant Hamilton's track position would be mostly protected. This left Max with a lot of work to do if he was to win. A slim chance. Massey's initial call was made to give the Grand Prix the best chance of finishing under green flags. Verstappen was unsurprised and thought it was a typical decision against him. Christian Horner radioed Michael Masi.
Why aren't we getting these lap cars out of the way? You only need 1 racing lap.
Masi said his primary focus was on getting the incident clear. Everybody wanted to see a 1-lap shootout to decide the World Championship, but it looked doubtful. That's when Michael Masi made one of the most controversial decisions in the history of Formula One. On the penultimate lap, Masi announced that only the 5 lapped cars between Hamilton and Verstappen could rejoin the lead lap. At the same time, Daniel Ricciardo and Lance Stroll behind Verstappen would be left a lap down. This put the Red Bull right behind the Merc with a clear shot at the victory. The decision, unprecedented, extraordinary, and, in the eyes of some, unjust, set up a final 1-lap sprint to the finish the fans so desperately craved. Race control immediately called the safety car in, and it wasted 0 time in peeling away. Toto Wolff was hysteric.
No, Michael. No. No, Michael. That was so not right.
Verstappen could smell blood and made his presence known to Hamilton by positioning his Red Bull right alongside the Mercedes. The sight was barely believable. With the 2 drivers again side by side, the world collectively held its breath. Hamilton tries to get the jump on Verstappen on the restart, but Max is all over the Mercedes as they barrel down the front straight. He holds his lead into turn 1 and through the following sequence of corners. But as they come up to turn 5, Verstappen lunges down the inside with Hamilton again leaving the door open and snatches the lead. Lewis tucks in behind Max as they head for turn 6 again. Hamilton radios to his team.
This is getting manipulated, man.
Max weaves across the track, desperate to break the tow. Even without DRS, as it was disabled for 2 laps, Lewis fought back hard. Verstappen's defense was neat and tidy, and Hamilton remained patient in making his move. He gets a perfect slipstream of Verstappen, flying down the back straight, then pulls alongside him, ready to strike. They enter turn 9 and almost make contact. Max is firm in his defense and keeps Lewis to the outside of the track, snuffing out his attack and staying ahead. Hamilton fought valiantly, but his efforts were futile as Verstappen's tyres gave him the edge. Max started to slip away, and with him, any hopes Lewis had of an 8th world title. The championship can only be won by one, and Red Bull had seized the chance. Verstappen takes the checkered flag to become the champion of the world. Hamilton pulls into the pits instead of parking on the grid and sits silently in his car, the moment's weight hanging heavy. The Red Bull garage exploded in celebration while Mercedes were left stunned. Toto Wolff continued to fight for his driver, protesting for Massey to reinstate the penultimate lap. Massey coldly shut him down.
Toto, it's called a motor race, okay? Sorry, we went car racing.
Was the decision right? Did Massey alter the natural course of the race? Mercedes accused the FIA of bending the rules and claimed Massey failed to follow the regulations correctly. They sought an amendment to the race classification, but the protests would be dismissed, and the results confirmed. Mercedes threatened to take legal action against the FIA, but ultimately dropped their appeal. Wolff cited for their reasons as neither he nor Hamilton wished to be awarded the Drivers' Championship in court. Months later, after an investigation, the FIA reported that Michael Massey had failed to properly implement the safety car procedures and put it down to human error. The FIA replaced Massey as race director, and he would become the subject of social media abuse and death threats due to the race controversy. Max Verstappen achieved his life goal of winning the Drivers' Championship and didn't care for the opinion that his title win was tarnished by Massey's actions. Mercedes didn't leave Abu Dhabi empty-handed though, as they took the Constructors' Trophy, giving them little solace in their driver's heartbreaking defeat. After the podium ceremony, Hamilton immediately left the circuit and took no further part in media activities. He made no public statements and remained silent for over a month. The 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will be remembered as a controversial race that divided fans new and old. A modern classic. Only one question remains. Was it Verstappen's crowning moment or Hamilton's stolen title?
Round 1. Player 1. Ready. Player 2. Ready. Fight.
That was very unbiased of you, that retelling.
Thank you. I tried to remain unbiased in
Very professional.
my research, in
Yeah.
my retelling, my writing, my narration.
Yeah, it's very good. You've become very, very professional.
What would you
Very
rate it out of 10?
What's the bar? Like, what's a 10? It's the first one. I'll go 10.
10 out of 10?
I'll go 10 out of 10. But just know we can only... That's
We can
now
only-
the bar.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
only fall
so that
from
can be
there.
adjusted in the future.
That is a very high bar. Can you just rate it down? Give me like a 7. Let's,
Do you want to go that low?
Yeah, that is too low. Let's go. Let's be honest. I crushed that shit.
I know
Let's be
I
honest.
know the amount of effort you put into that. Probably like an astounding amount. I never would have gone to the lengths you went to. So
And that is exactly why I run this shit, and you don't.
I definitely don't have the time, energy, desire to put the amount of time into it as you did. But
Look, it helps when the race is a banger, and
a
that
great race.
was a banger of a race.
yeah, every single person should know that race just off the title of that race. You know exactly what the intentions are behind this.
All right. So, do you think that was that the best F1 race you've watched live?
That's a silly question.
All right.
I'll
then
say
Then let me, if you don't want to answer that question, then let me throw at you, was that the best season you've ever watched?
yeah.
Easily.
Probably the best. Probably the best season of the last 13 years that I've been watching.
Easily.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, to come into the final race dead even to the half a point, that's pretty phenomenal.
So it's funny because I thought the same thing. I was like, wow. I mean, how does that happen? How does two drivers go into a final round on equal points?
Uh-huh.
And then when I actually looked it up, that was the 30th time.
Yes,
it has
but
occurred.
did you happen to come across the last time it happened?
2006.
Yeah. So when they were getting 8 points for a win,
Yeah. So I
Instead
mean,
of
the
that.
point structure is
they're
definitely.
now getting 25, and then second gets 18. There's a 7-point swing from first to second instead of a 1 or 2 point swing back in the day.
That's true. It does add to the unbelievability of it.
Yeah.
Is that a word? Did I just invent a word?
I like it.
That they could be on such a high point figure. It's not like they'll equal 10 points.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, yeah. I mean, how many times in the past have we seen championships be resolved by a single point? Because there's just not that many points in it. Naturally, the margins are going to be closer. Now, there's that many points in it. You know, like I said, 7 points, 8 if you get a fastest lap. They got it down to a half a point, and it wasn't even different. They came down to half a damn point. Like, to get half a point, that race that they got half points in Spa means both of them also had to be on, you know, an odd number figure or whatever it is to achieve half a point. Like, just the fact that they ended up on exact points to the half coming into the final race. I mean,
that's just one example, right? Because how many other things had to go Verstappen's way or Hamilton's
well, the
way?
amount of crashes and whatnot they had independently or with each other throughout the year to then still land on tied points is just easily easily the best season front to top to bottom I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, I agree. I remember. I just remember how intense every race, every round felt. It just felt like so much was on the line.
Yeah.
And that race was almost, it was almost, you felt nervous and you felt excited and you felt just on edge about what were we about to watch here. And then it very quickly fizzled out.
Plateaued real quick, didn't it?
Like, it very, very, very quickly became a very boring race. Run of the mill. Like, I can't believe that this is how it's going to end. But all the shit these two have been through, just exchanging blows, clashes, the amount of times that they came together, and it was quite explosive. And then it went into this boring race for the majority of it.
Like, the race itself, let alone the season, the race itself was a story of like 4 parts. Yeah, you had the lap 1, real chance, drama straight away. And then, it plateaued, went to nothing. And then Perez comes through and just has the
little
best
cameo
thing he ever did in a Red Bull. Like,
I agree.
There's no argument there. The season's the wins. He has the win. Like, he won at Mexico. The best thing he ever did at Red Bull was that defense.
Did you say he won at Mexico?
He won at Mexico.
Yeah. So outside of Mexicans, right, I would say that was the best thing he
That's
ever
what
did
he
in his
should be
career.
remembered for.
That's his highlight.
But there's not even the pivotal part of the race. That's the best thing.
No, it's
Like,
just
it's not even
like lap 20 or something.
Yeah,
lap
and
15.
then as we know, it happens. It's exciting. It's great, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Lulu drives off again. So, but that's what he should be remembered for, because that was that was all time. That was awesome, right?
It kind of makes you think, like, why don't I know cars are on different strategies throughout races, but it does really make you wonder, why do more cars not put a bigger emphasis on defense? Like, he held Lewis up so much.
It's borderline like dangerous driving.
It is, but how entertaining was it?
Oh, it's a spectacle, but I wonder.
It probably only did work because Lewis had more to lose than Sergio. So Lewis had to play it clean. He had to play it safe. He had to give
100%.
kind of room to Sergio to make sure that they didn't come together and then essentially just gift Verstappen the win.
If that was Maxim's mirrors, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Like, he is careful. I mean, how he kept us cool. I mean, you could see lap on lap, that second lap when he's right there, and he's still, only left the door open for Perez to do another silly move, but Perez is probably like, all right, I've done my job. Like, I've carved this 10-second deficit down to a second and
I think I remember them saying, can you hold them up for like 2 seconds? Like, they were asking for 2 seconds, and then he basically held them up for 10 seconds.
Just unbelievable.
I
so
think
that's his Red Bull.
I think my
highlight.
favorite moment, and it's kind of one of the lower moments of, I mean, considering how much occurred in the Grand Prix, is as they're battling, and when Lewis finally overtakes Perez, and he finally learns how to close the door, and he keeps him out, so he keeps the position. The camera angle changes, looking back at them. So we're kind of always on boards, and we're kind of always like looking forward.
Yeah.
And then once he makes that pass, the camera angle finally changes to looking back at them. And all of a sudden, Verstappen
He's right
is
there.
right in between them, right behind them, just out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. And you just,
he's within DRS.
you have
He's
to
8
double
tenths
take.
behind. Like,
I've watched that race 4 or 5 times,
Oh,
and I still
natural.
double take. I'm like, where did he come from?
yeah, yeah. I mean, lap to lap, you can see coming down the first straight. He's not there.
No,
He's not in the shot.
He's not
One, lap around, and then there he is behind Perez, like in attack mode. But yeah, I mean, Brundle says in that race or pre-race that it's the best season he has ever commentated, and we know he was commentating very early in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So he's been commentating
Lots
for
of
over
iconic
20
drivers,
years.
lots of iconic races, lots of
The
iconic battles.
stuff he's seen, witnessed, whatnot. He's deemed it the best season he's ever commentated.
I would actually take that a step further and say that race had some of the finest sports commentary in history. They called it pretty much perfectly.
Yeah, they've got a lot of pressure on them, just like everyone else
Yeah.
around, and they did. I mean, you've watched it 5 times. I've watched it a few times. Watched it live. Everyone watched it live. Everyone would have gone back and seen it, watched it, and the commentary still holds up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you kind of get you have the benefit of hindsight now, where you're picking up
Yeah.
on all of the things that they
It's almost like a script, isn't it? There's a lot of foreshadowing.
almost, yeah, so much foreshadowing, so many
Yeah.
things that they say that ends up occurring.
Yeah, I mean, this should be Verstappen's one and only stop. Should be.
Yeah.
And of course, he does 2 more stops.
Yeah.
Evidently. On a side note, how much better were those cars? How much better did they look?
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Like every car just looked meaner, tougher.
Yeah.
Like that, I
There's-
forgot how good that AlphaTauri looked.
Oh yeah, but I'm not just talking about the liveries. I mean the bodywork.
Yeah,
Like it
Yeah.
makes the cars of now look like bubbles. They're just sleeker. They've got a nice bit of rake towards the front. Like
really aggressive looking, aren't they?
unreal. They look amazing. Like it makes me a little bit sad.
And it wasn't even that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
4
Not at
years
all.
ago.
And we're going to these new regs and they're getting smaller and back to skinny tires. Like
Yeah.
just getting further away from almost like my favorite regs set of like my time watching sport is 17 to 21 when they went to the big tires,
Yep.
the low cockpit. Like the thing is that is an amazing looking car. Before skinny tires, all the rest of it, and they're heading back towards that. So it's a bit of a shame as we get further away from those cars. They look just unreal.
How wild was it that team principals had a direct line
Yeah.
with the race director?
Well, they might still. We just don't get to know about it anymore. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's at least it's not broadcast.
Yeah.
But it was super weird. Like,
Yeah. They shouldn't. Don't get me wrong. They absolutely shouldn't be able to just like talk to the person who's literally dictating the entire thing
it
and get to persuade him or attempt to persuade him.
yeah, it takes a little bit away from I don't know, just the
Well-
race in general, because it does seem like how persuasive is what they're saying.
Yeah, they're
on
giving
the race
arguments
director.
live while it's happening. Like it shouldn't be happening that way.
No, no.
You know, it's a race director show. They're all just there to play. They shouldn't be.
It's super weird to hear. Like, and again, that
It's
wasn't
wild.
even that long ago. I
mean-
think I'm glad that they removed that. I mean, it was an interesting insight,
Yeah.
and we don't hear probably really Christian Horner and Toto Wolff and kind of all there.
But they had people
Hysteria.
specifically to talk to the race director, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, was Michael Massey not set up for failure? I mean, how else is he going to call that race? No matter what he does, it's a bit of a tricky situation. He might have been able to
So
save his job if he doesn't let the cars go through, but
So you're defending him?
I just think he was put in a incredibly tricky situation.
It sounds awfully like,
Like-
a lot like you're defending him.
Well, he's an Australian. Naturally, I'm going to
Yeah.
have his, I'm going to support my fellow
Yeah.
Aussie, but
See, I think the officiating throughout the season was sketchy at best.
yeah.
So many calls were odd.
Well, he doesn't.
I mean,
As
we
far
were
as the
talking.
calls go, as far as like if you're talking about incidents and all that sort of stuff, that's not on him. But that race as a whole, yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, he has to make that decision at the end. He's got 2 different, like the rival teams
That's-
both with a direct line.
That's
to
what
him.
he's
like,
in the job to do, right? You're there to
Yeah,
make
but
the right calls.
exactly,
You have
he
the
sh-
regulations to follow.
yeah.
He
And then,
veered
but then
away
the
from them.
fans are like, fuck the sport. Like, we could have had a great race, great moment, great lap. Could have been amazing. Instead, it fizzled and Hamilton just cruises to his 8th. Like, that's not the storyline anyone wanted. So he's weighing up his job.
No.
I'm glad it happened this way. I mean, he had to walk, whatever. But
Look, if
he's created, he should be an icon, a treasure of Formula One. He's created
Jesus.
one of the absolute
I
best.
I don't know about that.
He's capped off the season. with
Yeah.
One of the best seasons in Formula One, definitely in the recent
You're almost
past.
making it sound like he's the MVP of Abu Dhabi 2021.
Would you disagree with that?
Well, look, I think the race, as we mentioned, was the best race of the season, possibly even the best race.
Well,
in
I didn't say
modern
it was the
times.
best race of the season.
Mhm.
There's a lot of good ones, but
Yeah.
the season's a great season. Yep.
But where I'm going with it is, I don't put it down to bad officiating.
It's not bad officiating. It's
What do you mean it's not bad officiating? The safety car was brought in without making the extra lap. They only
but they don't
unlapped
have
half
to,
the field.
Yeah,
You
letting only half the field through is it's probably the only problem. They don't have to
was the
let.
only problem.
Listen, they don't have to let the cars catch the train.
Mm.
They just have to let him get ahead. If he lets Ricardo and whatever through to unlap themselves, does anyone have a problem?
But he didn't.
He
That's
didn't.
the thing.
That's what I mean.
He
But
didn't.
He did what he felt he could do. Yes,
If he
Well-
does let those, I think it was 3 cars.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Fair enough. But because you're coming out with some wild shit and calling Michael Massey the MVP of,
Well, you use that terminology here.
you're putting him on the pedestal here.
I'm just saying he's created single-handedly, mind you, one of the greatest races of history in the recent times. So-
Created, scripted. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, anyway, yes.
All right. Well, let's move on from that bullshit. Raikkonen's last race. A lot of people kind of forget that. It's sort of overshadowed.
Almost don't even. I don't even. Like you say, like it doesn't feel that long ago, but it feels like so long since Raikkonen's been in the sport.
Yeah.
It was actually shocking to see Raikkonen and Vettel in that race.
Yeah.
And even Alonso and Alpine and Sainz already in Ferrari.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
again,
true.
I don't
Yeah, he's
think
already in
like
his Ferrari
Sainz is
stint.
already at Ferrari at that point. Like I feel like he wasn't there for that long, but I guess if he replaced Vettel and that, he must have been already in that seat for a couple of years even at that point. Bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately for Raikkonen. I mean, he's retired once before. He's come back, so you can't really feel sorry for him about not really getting, I don't know, a memorable send off because there was something much bigger going on. But yeah, picked probably again one of the most iconic races in modern F1 history to hang up his helmet. So
He couldn't even do burnouts because not only did his car fail, his teammates failed as well.
yeah.
So he couldn't even do sign off burnouts.
Mazepin.
Hmm.
Forgot about him already.
Yeah.
So wasn't on the grid because he had COVID.
Uh-huh. Why is he not on
Um,
the grid now?
So for
Is he one of the only drivers?
reasons I don't really want to get into on this podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, funny they didn't replace him. They just ran the race with 19 cars. So
Well, was it a mid-race dropout? Do you remember, or was it pre-race?
pre-race or
Okay.
what weekend or race?
That's on. Yeah, weekend. Like, was it mid-weekend that he?
I don't
maybe
remember.
his car.
Honestly, I
had
don't
to be,
remember because who the fuck was watching Nikita Mazepin?
maybe his
But
car had to be quarantined. Who knows with the rules back then?
Probably.
That whole garage had to be shut up, locked down. Who knows?
yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
I really don't want to get into COVID.
Pretty sure I
I'll tell you
saw
that
them all in hazmat suits and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's all the team could afford for their race suits, of course.
yeah. Have you got anything else worth noting before we
into the
move
race?
into the race stuff?
Nah, not really.
All right. So the first thing I noticed going into the race was Lando Norris bungling the first corner of the because he started from third.
Something like that.
Yeah. Had some sort of a bungle, goes out wide,
trap.
rejoins lower than third.
Bit of a trend he's
Yeah.
begun early on, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Something we become
Something-
accustomed to seeing.
In 2024, absolutely.
One thing I noticed is I think Max is lucky he had Perez behind him because he missed the apex at turn 1
Mm.
and he ran quite wide.
Are you
And
talking? Are you talking the overtake?
No, I'm talking turn
Oh, turn one. Right. Yeah. Well,
He
he had a
actually
shit
runs-
start, didn't he?
He had an average start, probably nothing, not here nor there. But then turn 1, he just bowls wide and
Yeah.
Perez hits the apex and you can see him drop away from him.
Yeah.
So he's lucky he didn't have much pressure behind him. and Serge knew what he was tasked with.
Well, it kind of shows you the team game. I mean, Verstappen had Sergio there to help him out in key moments.
Yeah.
Where the fuck was Bottas?
Isn't it funny? Bottas, he's kind of like Perez before Perez. He just dropped the ball and just he was like 5th or 6th in that race and just nowhere. Like
Perez
again
before
with one of the best cars on the grid, and he was just nowhere. You know.
Yeah.
So he was the Perez before Perez was the Perez.
Maybe not as unreliable. Because
No, but that
I
crash,
don't have the stats, but Bottas has more wins than Perez.
Oh, probably. Yeah. But
Probably more points.
Perez got like 2 seasons to be Perez.
Yeah.
Bottas, you know, he
Yeah.
kind of probably dropped off midway through that year, and then was like, "See you, buddy."
Yeah.
So he didn't have as much time. They didn't let him simmer as much. They didn't let him have this party like Red Bull let Serge get away with.
Yeah, that's true. So you want to talk about the pass then? The first.
I really do.
Yeah.
The first attempt.
All right. What do you got? What do you think happened there?
Well, I think that motor racing needs to bring back consequences. Gravel traps, grass, walls even, God forbid.
Yep.
Because if there's gravel
I agree.
traps, walls, grass, Hamilton doesn't choose to drive off track. Which is what he did. He chose to drive off track.
Yeah, I mean, if you drive off track, he races over,
Yeah.
essentially.
And how could they possibly, if that was the case, if there was gravel trap there, blah, 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 Max pulls in behind,
Mhm.
how could they blame Max for what he did? He stayed on track, didn't lock up, didn't touch Lewis. Nothing was wrong with that move. It was a hard racing move.
It was a deep lunge, though.
It was
Very
that's
deep,
racing.
late
That's
lunge.
racing. And Lewis saw him coming. You can see him deviate his line towards the apex.
Yeah.
He sees him coming completely. He makes the decision. Instead of braking harder and ducking him behind, which he would have had to do if there was gravel, he chose to go off track. I don't understand why that's allowed. And even Martin Brundle puts his bias aside and says, yeah, Lewis has to give that back. Max's move was absolutely on. He doesn't lock up. He doesn't plow into his side pod. How does he force Lewis off track besides passing him? Besides putting his car up the inside of Lewis's car and making the corner, mind you. Like, how does he push Lewis off track? Lewis decides to drive off track because there's tarmac there.
Yeah.
There's a runoff.
Yeah.
He takes advantage, lets the stewards decide, and ridiculously, the stewards go, yeah, no, yeah, that's good, bro.
How did
Like-
they justify that? Because
That's what I mean.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. And like, obviously, I'm going into bat for Hamilton here.
Of course you are.
You're clearly going into bat for Verstappen.
As I was then.
But rewatching that move, I do agree. I think, first of all, you're right. Gravel pits, sand traps, grass, whatever, needs to come back. I know there's this whole like safety stuff and whatever. But if we're going to race fine lines, then let's have no grey area. Let's have it black and white.
Don't let
there's the
cameras
racetrack.
and race directors decide.
Exactly. There's the racetrack and then there's no racetrack. And you don't want to be on that no racetrack part.
Green stuff's not quick.
No. So if that comes back to those, specifically those sorts of tracks, like we've already seen them do it in Qatar, is it?
Qatar, they got little gravel bits.
Yeah, and that was great. That was a
Self-punishing.
great addition.
But that wouldn't have been good enough here because he could still have driven around that, right?
No, but I mean, extend it, do
it's a
whatever you got
start.
to do.
Exactly.
It's a start.
That's what they need to.
And like, Abu Dhabi's been around for a while now. I actually didn't realize like how long it's been around now. But
2010,
yeah, so it's had a good stint. The track is great. I think the layout is awesome. I think the scenery is awesome. It's very pleasing to the eye as a viewer. But as we are openly not fans of, we don't like big runoff areas.
I don't think I can't think of anyone who would like it.
No, I mean we're not saying put a barrier right there.
But just that'd spice things up, wouldn't it?
It would.
It'd also probably not be legal. But
No. But having gravel pits and grass and whatever,
it's a
problem
deterrent.
solved. Much better viewing as
Yeah.
a fan. And then those sorts of decisions, you don't even need to go to the stewards for anymore.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's
It's
self-penalizing.
self-punishing. He goes off if he decides, hey, I'm going to stick the cell on the outside.
Yeah.
And Max, being a racing driver, didn't allow him to, and he goes off track. That's his fault. He made that decision.
Yeah.
How could you penalize Max if that was the case? If Lewis trundles back on in 6, whatever, how can you go, oh, Max, you can't do that? Can't do what? Pass him? Stay on track?
They took a while
Stay
to
in
think
control
about
of
it
his
too.
car?
Like they really were obviously tossing up what the right call was there. So,
Well, Hamilton finished lap 1 with a 1 second lead after all that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say because obviously we don't have the benefit of seeing Max in front for a bit to see
Yeah.
the true pace of that car. But
mean-
it does seem like clean air was the most important thing on this race, this track.
100%. And that's
And-
most tracks with Formula 1.
Yeah, and Hamilton keeping that first place, that is most tracks, but Hamilton keeping that first place, he was able to just take off down the road. But within, by lap 14, Max was already 6 seconds down.
Yeah.
So obviously keeping that lead was super vital. We don't get the benefit of knowing if Verstappen was behind Max, would he still have that raw pace to overtake Max and still get 6 seconds down the road? No idea. However, I will say,
Mm.
6 seconds down the road after lap 14.
He was in another world, and we saw that numerous times through the race.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. Mercedes, they showed some brain smarts that year. I mean, they went to Brazil, a track they knew they could do well at, and just chose let's refresh our donkey.
Yep.
Let's get a new engine in the back there, just in the pool. Didn't even use it. Let's just get a fresh engine, take the penalty here. Worst case will come second. We got a nice, fresh engine, full of horsepower.
they were on that A game, weren't they?
Yeah, and that's have a home. And because then how are Red Bull going to react to that? Intentionally doing the same thing and having that? No, too late. So then, and it made the difference. All of a sudden, instead of them being neck and neck, the Mercedes was just fast, straight
Yeah.
line fast. And I feel like Hamilton won Brazil as well, just to really rub salt into the wound.
yeah, yeah.
Like they knew what they were doing. They showed some smarts, and they put themselves into a position with all these tracks coming up to finish the season with long straights and you need horsepower. They put themselves in the best position. So I feel like we kind of knew going into that race that Mercedes would have that advantage.
a speed advantage. Yeah.
So, but like you said, clean air, all it takes is Max gets that spot 3 laps ahead of Lewis, overheats his front tires, all the rest of it. And then it does change things.
Yeah.
Not to mention the psychological factor that could have come into it. I mean, straight away, lap
That's
1,
true.
halfway through lap 1 of the biggest race of his career, he's already, what are the FIA doing? They're against me. He's in that mindset, like
Yeah.
straight away.
I mean,
And then not to mention, you can see how fast that Merc is. So now he's like, that Merc's quick. I've already got my I've already got the card stacked against me. Now the FIA are just doing silly shit. Like,
and Verstappen had the quicker tires too.
yeah,
So he
Yeah.
wasn't even keeping with him or being able to attack.
Yeah.
He was just losing him. So it looked pretty hopeless early on.
yep. I mean, he
for,
was half a second quicker per
for
lap.
Max
Like,
there.
that
yeah.
is monumental.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
So then we get to the pit stops and arguably could be the best part of the race. Lewis comes out behind Sergio
Yes.
and the team games begin. So
Yes. Stage 2 of this Grand Prix.
yeah. So as we mentioned, quite a big bulk of it was boring.
Yes.
But this might have been just the cherry on top of the
This was
race
just
what
like
it
a
turned out
teaser?
to be.
This
Yeah.
is just like a teaser. This is like, let's show you what could be a really good race.
Like in that moment that battle occurred, and we'll go through it a little bit, but I was the number 1 Perez fan. I was cheering for Checo so hard that like I considered buying Checo shirt,
Absolutely.
cap.
I think Max would have given
hung
him
up a
his,
flag in
his
the
first unborn
lounge room.
child for that.
Yeah.
I think everyone was pretty stoked with the situation.
That hands down, that goes up there as one of the all-time best
Absolutely.
on-track battles.
Absolutely. I mean, even the rewatch is like, how is he doing this?
Oh,
You just
still-
watch that margin come down.
Still gives you chills.
He was lap 20. Max was 5 seconds quicker than Lewis. And that was lap 20. It was a 2-lap battle. So lap 21, he would have been out 4 seconds quicker
Yeah.
to bring that gap down to 1 second there. Like,
I just wish that the sport had more melees like that.
oh, absolutely.
You know, as you said, some of the movement maybe is a little bit dangerous. But we know that, I mean, just like any sport, there's offense and there's defense. And it seems like we pretty much get like 90% offense and 10% defense in F1. If it was a bit more
Yeah.
leveled out, and I don't know how you do that. I don't know if it
Oh.
means tweaking regulations or...
It's probably, it'd be like strategy stuff.
Mm.
Like the thing is, drivers know you know, in normal cases, Perez isn't racing Hamilton in that situation.
No.
He hasn't even pitted yet. In normal cases, he's
No.
just letting him through because, hey, I'm not in a battle with you.
Well, it's funny because he's not in the race at all,
No.
right? But he
He was
still,
used
in
as a
the
pawn.
end, led more laps than
Yeah.
Verstappen did
Yes.
of the GP
But
because
again,
of that.
he was a sacrificial lamb the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, and it took 6 laps for Lewis to overcome his pit stop deficit to Serge to then be able to catch him. And as soon as he's past him, they pull him out of the race and pit him. And
So then if you're Mercedes, right, you're probably looking at Valtteri and you're thinking like, bro, why couldn't you just be like up in the top 5 somewhere?
Yeah.
Somewhere that when Verstappen pit, you could probably affect his race.
or just be super
And-
slow and just do what Perez did and just
Exactly, affect
save
his race.
pit stop and get him in between. I mean, they didn't need that help, right? That was,
No.
I guess, the other factor.
Yeah.
They thought they could win on pace, and they sure as shit should have.
Like so many things throughout the race, if they just fell differently, it changes the outcome.
Yeah.
Everything had to fall perfectly for Verstappen to win it in the end. And even he
Yeah.
had a number of calls against him. So
Yeah. Do you miss Hamverbot?
Hamverbot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. We won't see that anymore, will we?
No, I don't think we'll see that one ever again. Unless Bottas has a kid and Hamilton's still racing, probably.
Yeah.
Who knows? And
That's true. That could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we see it with
Old Hamverbot.
Hamverbot. Too many years of that.
Yeah.
I noticed that during that skirmish, Hamilton remained super cool and calm over the radio.
Absolutely.
And I think you sort of noted that as well. Like, geez, he's very...
Well, both of them. We'll get to the Verstappen one soon. But yeah,
I think,
both
again...
of them were just, I don't know, under control. They just felt like they must. I mean, he got. Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, to answer you, yes, he was. I'm trying to.
Can I
get
finish my thought?
Yeah.
I think, again, it comes back to he was thinking about the bigger picture. He knew he had pace in the car. He knew that he would get past Checo. He just had
Yeah.
to... Well, he did. He got past Checo very quickly. Just didn't expect Checo to counterattack the way he did.
No.
But I think he knew that as long as he just stays clean, keeps his nose out of trouble,
Yeah.
get past Perez, get back into that clean air, then he's got 20, 30 laps, whatever it is,
Bring it
just to
home.
start building the lead back up and get
Yeah.
that distance. So I think, again, his, Lewis isn't exempt of like poor radio etiquette and just radio bullshit in general. But in that moment, definitely showed his poise as a multiple world champion, that he kind of understood the whole situation, knew how to play it, and ultimately took control. I mean, got through that skirmish and then did exactly that. Just put his head down and just banged in lap after lap after lap. And Verstappen just started disappearing way back into his mirrors.
Stage 3 of the race.
Yeah.
Back to stage 1, where it's just easy goes, and turns out the best thing Perez was known for in a Red Bull meant nothing.
Yeah. By the way, Bottas was 30 seconds back down the road. Like, that's how much of a class they were in.
That's how much of a Perez he was.
Yeah.
I've noted here that Lewis Hamilton, on that day, was his 1,506th straight day of being Formula One's world champion.
Yeah, wow.
It's quite a run.
Does anyone else have a bigger run?
I don't know. I mean, you got your 4 years. I guess that would account for roughly a 4-year period.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe it'd be similar for Schumacher, and as of Verstappen, to the end of this year, presumably he doesn't go again. That'll be a similar buffer again. So
Yeah, true.
I guess it's been done, but that's a heck of a lot of days to be Formula One's world
It's
champion.
dark times, wasn't it? It was a dark period.
We're in it again, aren't we?
Yeah. That turbo hybrid era
Yeah.
that we had to painfully watch through round after round
Yes.
of, yay, who's
I
going
mean,
to come third?
I'm certainly guilty of skipping a few Grand Prix here and there.
Oh, yeah. So stage 3 of the Grand Prix, huh?
Yeah, let's call it that. Yeah.
What have you got?
Nothing major really happened. We had some cars DNFing due to mechanical issues. I guess there's that point of the year where teams stop spending money, Sauber, and
Sauber.
new regs on the horizon.
Not looking at you, Sauber.
Yeah. Besides both your cars getting DNFs due to technical difficulties. Raikkonen ends his career with a brake failure that lunges him into the barriers.
Yep.
So sad. I'm sure the
A
Iceman was
fizzer again.
Yeah.
For poor Kimmy.
Yep. We had his teammate also have some sort of mechanical failure. Pulls over.
Giovinazzi?
Giovinazzi.
Yeah.
Antonio.
Isn't it funny how quickly you can forget people when they leave the sport?
Yeah.
Like Mazepin, Giovinazzi, Latifi,
Schumacher.
Mick Schumacher. I mean, he's still like he's got the name right, so it's still kind of
Yeah, he'll
floats
never
around.
be forgotten.
No,
Yeah.
but it is shocking how quick you can just forget people that make their way in and out of the sport so fast. So,
Yep. Yeah.
um,
I mean, then we have a virtual safety car thanks to Antonio Giovinazzi.
yeah,
Couldn't quite find the hole in the fence, and he had to cause a scene, didn't he? Had to cause one last scene before he left the sport.
So Latifi is driving a car that is powered by Mercedes.
The
puts it-
Williams, yeah.
Yeah, puts it into the wall and throws Hamilton's race
Into chaos.
into complete turmoil.
Yep. Yeah.
How do you think Mercedes felt about him?
Ah, I'm surprised they didn't revoke their Mercedes contract. To be fair,
I mean, it cost them a lot, didn't it? Just that little slip up at
it was
the
a
end. there.
nothing moment too, wasn't it? That's the
Ah,
biggest thing.
Yeah,
It's just,
it wasn't fighting anyone.
no.
He just lost control of the car.
Well, isn't it funny? Not long before that takes place,
Mm.
the great Crofty utters the words, "Red Bull needs something beyond their control to bring Max back
Oh
to
yeah,
the
like
race,
what? Like a miracle.
like a goddamn miracle." And by golly, did they get one?
Yeah.
That's why they call him Go Tiffy, you know.
Go Tiffy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he conjures miracles
Yep.
for people.
He saved Michael Schumacher's legacy.
Yeah.
Prevented that eighth from happening, and Ferrari picking up them pieces to prevent it, to continue it preventing.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
So when that crash happened,
Very
Max-
deep. Don't know if he went into the Grand Prix with that intention.
No, probably not. You'd hope not, right? Crash gate. Yeah, Max was 12 seconds behind behind Lulu when
Mm.
Latifi crashed. So
How
that
many
margin
seconds?
was
12?
there. Yep. And what, 5 laps remaining?
So I noticed that as well. Like Max was catching him.
He had the fresh tyres after that stop.
Yeah. So it's catching him, but it didn't look like he was going to catch him.
Ah, absolutely.
But then
not. No
just
way.
before the accident happened, the timing sheet started to flip where Lewis was actually pulling time back on him again.
Yeah.
So
Just to really nail the coffin home.
yeah, I mean, he just absolutely, from up until that point, dominated Max and dominated the race.
I'm
Just
just-
put in a champion's drive. Forget about the first overtake drama.
Yeah.
From that moment on, put his head down, and Max had nothing on him. Nothing. No answer.
It's just an amazing race. Like, how many fizzes are there in Formula One?
Mm.
And all you wish is, or all you think is anything can still happen. Like, anything can still happen.
Yeah, there's
And I'll
still
tell ya-
5 laps. There's still 4 laps.
Yeah.
There's still 3 laps.
I tell you, I feel like I had those feelings at the time.
Yeah.
Like, red-eyed watching this damn race at who knows what time.
Yeah.
Any other race, I'm falling asleep
Yeah.
because it was a bummer.
Yeah.
I stayed awake and something happened. Like, one of the best things happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's
the thing that
it's-
you always wish happened
Yeah.
happened.
and at the best time to just create the most chaos.
Almost like
I
it was
wish I had
scripted, huh?
more friends in my life at the time, especially who were into Formula One, that I could share that moment with.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Because
true.
it's just,
I remember.
how do you explain it?
I
Like,
remember getting off the couch, like pacing
Yeah.
the room.
and the letdown.
Yeah.
The letdown when they say, "Oh, you know, we're not letting the cars pass," and it's like, you just.
It literally was that. It was
Yeah.
emotion after
Yeah.
emotion.
And then
was
it was like,
like-
hang on, they're letting the cars back. They're letting them through now. They're letting them race,
Yeah.
and you just know what was.
well, first you
about
have to
happen.
crash, and you just kind of you don't believe it. You're like, well,
Yeah.
wait, hang on.
But not to
what?
mention, you go, it's 4 laps left. Like, naturally, you're just like,
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
yeah. So you're like, well, safety car. Hang on a second, this changes everything. Then you see the lap count, and you're like, Nah, there's no way they
Yeah.
get this cleaned up. Are you kidding me? The race is going to finish under yellow flags.
Yep.
And then, all of a sudden the car's being moved and you're like, oh, there's a couple laps on here. Like, they could maybe do it.
Yep.
And then you go through all the change of minds, the calls and everything, right up until the point that he makes his controversial decision. And you still don't even really know what the fuck is going on.
No,
You're still
it's literally
confused.
the last sector, and you just seeing it flashes up, cars,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and then you see them passing the safety car, and you're like, are they about to send this now?
And the safety car peels off straight away. Doesn't waste any time.
Follows the Formula 1 cars away.
Yeah.
Like lap 57, 58, and you're like, oh boy, it's on.
Next
It's
thing you
happening.
know, Max is side by side with Hamilton going into the last lap, and you're just like, okay, how did we end up here?
Yep.
I'm all for it.
I mean, what was Max doing as well? He's lucky that it was the most loosey-goosey set of circumstances that they were presenting. That because he did sneak his nose past Lulu a couple of times there.
Oh yeah, he was playing with fire on that one.
Like if I was Hamilton, I would have tried to just bait him I would have held him all the way to the line and just bait him a little bit. I dare you to just pass me at the control line, buddy. I just dare you.
Yeah, it was a pretty stock standard restart, wasn't
Yeah.
it? He could have maybe tried something a little bit left of field, try and catch him off guard. But it was a pretty straightforward restart from Lewis. So.
Yep.
All right. So as we know, Hamilton is on old as fuck tires. Now
Near
he's-
on 40 laps old, to be specific.
40. Just think about that for a second. 40 lap old tires.
Hards. As
And
well.
meanwhile, Verstappen has and hards. Yeah, Verstappen has had 2 pit stops in that
Yeah.
time, and now with a little bit of assistance from Michael Massey, is in a perfect position.
Soft tires.
Yep, to take the Grand Prix. That is, who would ever have thought that was going to happen?
No.
The race was done 10 laps ago. The race was done 10 laps ago. Hamilton was an 8-time world champion.
At this point, starting the last lap, he was still on the cards to be an 8 times world champion. Speaking
Right.
of champions, top 5 recent championship battles.
Ooh,
Recent.
what's the bracket here?
30 years.
It's not fucking recent.
I don't want to go
Jesus.
too far back, but there's been a lot of stale period in that time. So 5th here, 2016. Nico Rosberg versus Lewis Hamilton.
That's a good one.
That's a
Battle,
great
Battle
one.
of the Silver Arrows.
Now, one
that's an all-timer.
unfortunate, side piece to this, I guess, is because I've gone recent. There's a lot of Lewis Hamilton, which
Recent.
Yeah.
30 years.
let's not forget.
don't
Schumacher
think you know what
dominated
the
for a
word
long
recent
period
means.
of time. Vettel dominated for a long period. You get the point. 2016 Rosberg versus Lewis Hamilton.
Yep. So
That
that's
was
number 5.
Yeah,
It's banger.
banging, right?
Yep. There's actually a doco on YouTube that breaks down that whole season.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
You seen it?
Yeah, I have. Of course I have.
Okay.
Watch everything on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of YouTubes. Number 4, 2010 Webber versus Alonso versus Vettel. Missed
Why did-
opportunity.
why did
I
you have
know,
to bring
I
that
know.
up?
It's a sore
What the
moment.
fuck is wrong with you?
I could put Lewis in there as well, to be honest. But
Take that
but I
off
was
your
more
fucking
talking
list.
about. Yeah, it's a shame that Vettel won it, but that last race is just nuts. Vettel come from behind. This is an unbiased opinion here.
Oh, fine.
All right, number 3,
Continue.
2008 Lewis Hamilton versus Felipe Massa.
Felipe Massa.
Felipe Massa.
Yep. So, Han, was he was in McLaren,
Yes.
and Massa was still Ferrari.
Yes.
Yep.
Side quest to this side quest.
Okay.
2008.
Inception.
Listen to me here.
Side quest.
Yep. 2008.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton is effectively gifted his world championship because of a back marker. He
Yeah.
passes Timo Glock at the final corner,
Yeah.
which is the spot he needed to win the championship.
Is this the one that
Massa crosses the line, Ferrari's banging like, "Yeah, we've done it." His dad's, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
And then yes, Lewis Hamilton passes Timo Glock at the last corner on the last lap,
Yeah.
sails through to win the world
Yeah.
championship. So a back marker helps him win his first world championship, right?
Yeah.
And then now a back marker we haven't got there yet,
Yeah.
but it might have cost him his chance at an 8th.
Thank God for back markers.
Oh, it's they giveth and they taketh away.
Yeah.
All right, number 2. You ready for this one? Don't look.
30 years is a long fucking time.
1994, so 31 years, I apologize.
Okay, 94.
Schumacher versus Hill.
Yep. Goes down to Adelaide.
Absolute clunker.
Good one.
All right, more on that later. Number 1, 2021.
We'll
Lewis
touch on that a bit more later.
versus Max Verstappen.
And what was it?
Lewis versus Max 2021.
That's your number 1?
That's what I'm on.
Sounds awfully like a lot like you think this
There's
is
a
the
lot
best season of F1.
Yeah, well, in recent years, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, after that, whatever, and then there's a lot of Michael Schumacher dominance, not really any rivalry, happening much.
Sure.
Then you get into some other, whatever. Who cares? I don't have to break it down that much, do you? But
Okay. Well, I appreciate the top 5.
thank you.
You can have it this time.
I'll
Alright.
beat you to it.
Yeah. Continue on.
All right, so where was I? Championship?
Well, hang on. Just real quick. When Latifi crashes,
Yes,
there's 5 laps left of the Grand Prix.
there is. Yes.
Is that enough time to clean that incident for more racing laps? Like, realistically? Like, should everyone, including Mercedes, expected there to be more racing laps? Or is that typically like,
It's
race is
like
done and dusted?
super touch and go.
Break
you know.
it down for me.
Well, he crashes in the final sector.
I know you love to listen to my voice, and I
Yeah,
love
well,
to listen to my voice too. But
Clearly, because you asked me a fucking question, and here I am trying to answer it.
I'm just saying. I want to.
So there's 5 laps to go when he crashes in the final sector, right? Lewis and the boys pass him to start lap 4 laps to go, sorry, where they catch the safety car.
Mm-hmm.
That first lap, the safety car just gets the cars under control. They come back around, 3 laps to go.
Sure.
Right.
I'm with you.
And again, you touched on it in that amazing retelling you did.
Thank you.
If it's a race in June, like, there's just no chance. Why bother? But there's not a race in June.
No. It's a
3
race in
laps to
December.
go. 3 laps to go. They need a vehicle to remove Latifi's car, for starters.
Yep.
That shit can only happen when the cars aren't around. So they need to wait for them to bunch up and move on.
Yep. So that's why it's a full safety car,
Yeah,
not a
yep,
VSC.
Yep. Tractor comes on track. They need to hook it up, whatever. Hoist it up, get it off. And then there's debris everywhere. That all needs to be swept up, taken off,
Yep.
insured, check the barriers, whatnot.
A lot of what was it, Alfa Romeo? Or
Williams.
sorry.
A lot of Williams.
a lot of
scattered.
Williams parts
Yeah.
all over the track.
Something they have not changed. So, we're down to 2 laps already. That's done. So let's say the car's clear. They're on their second last lap.
Yep.
And then, as we know, they should or should not allow all the lapped cars to pass
Okay.
and get somewhat down the road.
So that takes another lap, essentially.
Well, yeah,
to
I mean,
let them get.
but
through
at
the
this point, when they made this, where they know they're already in the 3rd sector.
Yeah.
So again, second last lap, they're in the 3rd sector.
Yeah.
Only now is the field fully done. Yep, we've confirmed the incident's clear. Barriers are good to go. Everything's happy.
Yep.
Honky dory.
Yep.
Any other race, they're not doing it. They need to get 5 cars away from first and second.
Sure.
They then need to allow 2-3 cars that are more mid-pack to safely, mind you, not just
Okay.
rush through it. There's corners involved here.
Is there any other steps after that one?
No, they just need to. Well, they need to release the safety car. So once all
Yep.
those cars
And
pass the
how
safety car
How long does that take?
to release the safety car.
Yeah.
Oh, I think normally under normal circumstances they'll release it like entering the 3rd sector. Let them get right ahead.
Mhm.
Race control comes over. Radio boys, no more weaving, whatnot.
Yeah.
Just
So according
watch
to
the greens.
regulations, when they call the safety car in, it has to make an additional lap around the circuit.
Huh?
When they call the safety car in,
Yeah.
it has to make an additional lap around the circuit.
What do you mean?
What are you not understanding?
Because
here?
it doesn't do that.
That is according to regulations.
Well, the regulations are clearly not the damn Bible.
Well, as
Because
we know
when they
with
call
Michael
the safety
Massey,
car in,
Michael Massey, he has one job
no,
to
But-
enforce those regulations
they-
in
they
the
even
Bible.
say in the race that it is not it's up to the race director.
Sure.
So he didn't have to do wave. He didn't have to allow the cars to pass. But if he did, yeah, he was meant to let them all pass, right? But tell me, where does the safety car go when they release it?
Right, back to the
Okay,
pits.
exactly. So your point is null and void. So
Well,
The
it's not,
fact
because
is,
the regulations
they
say
released that safety car in the last sector. They left 2 or 3 cars within the pack, which like Ricardo is the prime example. Like he didn't get to get his lap back. He didn't get to finish on the lead lap. Like
No.
he just got to he just had to squander in the pack.
Yeah.
Not to mention he's in between 5th and 6th. What if 5th and 6th wanted to have a battle? But they couldn't because there was a DR in the middle.
Takes
of it.
them out of the race straight
Exactly. So it just that's the problem, right? It's all eyes are obviously on Lulu and MaxiPad there, but
Yeah.
you got other cars in the pack that would like to race as well. But Maxi's gone, hey fellas, this isn't about you, right?
away. Yeah. The
ease
FIA went, nah, we don't care about any viewers.
Not FIA, right?
Sorry, this Michael Massey.
Yeah.
And then you also have the bullshit at Red Bull going, Perez, we need to retire the car. Get the fuck out of the way.
It's too much of a distraction for
And
us, right?
Checo's
right
just
now.
like,
really?
what?
Is that my car?
He's-
My car feels okay.
Yeah, he doesn't understand
Yeah.
what's going on.
No. I don't. I still don't understand why they took him out of the race. He doesn't seem to understand. We went back and analysed the replay, of course, and he didn't seem to be in the way. So
All right, well, it seemed like Mercedes, obviously, they bet that there was going to be no more racing laps. They clearly were
it's
all...
the safest of the two. But like I said, if
They
there was
certainly played
4
it
laps
safe.
to go, different story.
Yeah.
But that was 5.
They played it safe. They had to play it safe. You know, I mean, the alternative is bringing him in, losing track position, and then
the rules get upheld.
the rules get upheld.
And they just
and
pitted away.
yeah. So I think they made the right call in the circumstances, but you can certainly tell Hamilton, he's worried
Well,
straight away.
Oh, well, why wouldn't you be? Surely they're all. This just
That coolness and that calmness that he had before, that's gone now. Now he's worried. He radios in to get updated on it, and you can hear the concern in his voice. He
Yeah.
is.
Wasn't
he
it
knows.
funny? Isn't it just hilarious that when they said lapped cars will not overtake, they come over and they tell Max that? Isn't it just? It just blows my mind how calm he is. He's just like, he has a chuckle.
Well, he
He's
laughs
like,
it off,
"Oh,
yeah.
It's like, that is not the Max.
Yeah.
That is not the Max.
He's
we've
like,
come to know." Yeah,
they want to make it harder for me.
yeah.
All right.
It's
No worries.
it's actually like boggles the mind that he can have that
Yeah.
persona and attitude
Especially
about the situation.
as we know him, because he's quite explosive.
Yeah.
He's quite animated.
Yeah. I'm
He's
surprised. I'm like,
just-
give me the fucking headset. I'll talk to fucking Michael Massey myself.
You know what
Put him
I put
on
it
the
down
line.
to? The race, in his mind, the race was already lost. He had nothing for Lewis.
Yeah,
So-
he spent an hour and a half looking at the back of that thing.
Yeah.
He like Red Bull had to pit, and why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They were hoping. They both teams had no idea whether it would go or not. Red Bull had obviously nothing to lose, but they were like, probably won't resub it if it does. And Mercedes were like, well, same thing. They can't. I mean, if Mercedes pit,
Yeah.
you know Red Bull aren't pitting.
Yeah.
They're like, sweet, thank you.
Yeah.
But that's just
Yeah,
how
they're
the
gonna
cookie
do-
crumbles, right? That's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's mega unfortunate. If there's 6 laps to go, Mercedes pit. If there's 4 laps to go, they don't pit and they get away with it. It's the
fine
5
margins.
laps. It's just,
Fine margins,
It's just the worst.
Yeah.
Like,
Super unlucky. I definitely feel.
you couldn't have scripted it better if you tried.
Yeah, no, you couldn't. I definitely feel Hamilton, just the absolute worst case scenario that could have occurred to prevent him.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the F1 gods were just.
well,
on
I
the
don't know
side
about the
of
gods, but
Schumacher.
certainly Michael Massey wasn't.
He's playing God.
Well, yeah. He certainly seems like a god to you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, thank you, Michael Massey. Thank you for blessing us with
But
this
great
race.
Grand
And
Prix. I don't understand why you're not involved with that.
look, at the time,
You just bash on Aussies. That's what I'm hearing. I'm an Aussie supporter through and through. And the trend I'm seeing is you'll just.
I'm a man of the law.
Man of the law. That's
Yeah,
a
that
cracker.
felt wrong to
That
say
is
out loud.
a
I'll
cracker.
take that back. I'm not a man of the law. However, I do remember watching it at the time and thinking, oh, come on, Max, get him. Like,
Yeah. Just
like
is there
just
not
end
something
his reign
within-
of terror.
Yeah.
Like, just
Can you not dig deeper?
Yeah.
Can you not just figure this out?
yeah, like please, Max. Like that's the only time I can ever recall
Oh,
just being, barracking for Verstappen so hard.
come 2022 when Ferrari come out booming, I was like, yes, get him.
Yeah. Recent times now, when I watch this race and when I think about this race, I see it in a different light now. Now I think, man, they did Hamilton dirty. He should have been the one and only 8-time world champion. He led 51 of 58
Yeah,
laps.
he had the pace.
That is 87.93% that he had the lead for.
Are you telling me
Perez-
you're allowed to do percentages?
Would you? Yes.
was
Percentages are
doing
my thing.
percentages last week, and you were like,
Yeah, but
we
you
don't
kind
do
of
that around
half-assed
here.
it. You're like, oh, I got him for Oscar, but I don't have him for
no,
Lando.
no, 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 no.
I'm the percentage guy now, all right?
Okay.
And I say 87.93%. Perez led 6 laps. Verstappen, 1.
You only need to
And that was enough for him to get world champion.
Listen. We have one more lap to break down here.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Let me hear the bullshit that's going to come out of your mouth.
So you're saying Lewis was robbed?
Absolutely, he was robbed.
Was it Lewis or was it Michael Massey who didn't defend from Max
What is
Verstappen at
What-
the hairpin?
What has he got to defend? He's got a Red Bull, freshly serviced, with brand new tires on
Okay,
his
but
car.
then what happened? Listen,
No
so
gap
listen.
anymore. No protection from cars
This is the
between.
worst. So he leaves the door open, and
Yeah.
he knows who Max Verstappen is. Did he forget who Max Verstappen is? Did he forget who he's racing and what's on the line? He doesn't defend that corner.
Mm.
Max, again, brilliant overtake, except guess what? The corner keeps fucking going around. So
Okay.
what's Lewis going to do besides,
What corner? What turn was that? 6?
I don't know, the first hairpin?
Okay. There's plenty of other corners. If
Yes.
it was going to happen there, it was going to
say
happen
that.
elsewhere.
You say that, right? And I love that you said that because coming out of that corner,
Wait, you said,
what
you
does
bait,
Lewis...
you baiting me into something
Listen
here?
to me. What does Lewis get?
You
just an-
masturbator.
An unbelievable slipstream. And what does Max do? He parks his car just about on the guardrail.
Max did what Perez did for 2 laps.
Max did what Lewis should have done if he wanted to be an 8-time world champion. Because Lewis, coming out of that hairpin, he had the drive with those 40-year-old hard tyres to come out of the corner, have the slipstream, and he got right up alongside him, just on the outside, because what did Max do? Defend.
Yeah.
As a racing driver, that's not all right, because then they go through the chicane, and it happens again. He gets a great run. He had another opportunity. What's Max do? Defend. What did Lewis not do? Tell me, say it with me.
No,
He didn't defend.
Okay,
tell
fine,
me,
fine.
Tell me if Lewis, like, yeah, I get what you're saying, soft ties out or whatever. But if he
You can't just
defends
throw that
him,
away.
but
Okay,
Lewis
fine,
had
fine,
had
alright,
pace on those tires out of that hairpin,
Yep.
and he had 2 more like real, genuine attacks with pace.
Mm-hmm.
Max just realized, hey, I'm defending for a world championship here.
Yeah. Okay. Are you done?
It depends what kind of bullshit you're gonna throw back at me here, because I
Alright.
don't understand. It's racing.
I
on
will
track.
acknowledge that Hamilton did not defend well enough on that last lap.
or at all. Like,
Or at all. He left the door open for sure.
Mm-hmm,
Okay. What's the man going to do? He's on 40 lap old
what? So he
hard
gives up.
tires.
That's the mentality of a world champion, isn't it? That's the mentality of someone who wants to win.
Look, I'd love to say that he's not a man that gives up, but we've had way too much proof that would show otherwise. So let's not go there.
He wanted his moment to sit in the car for bloody
I'm giving
5
you
minutes.
this win, all right? I'm giving you this battle. Hamilton did not defend, 100%. Max still had to make the pass, and he did. However, the only reason he was in that position to begin with was
Yes.
because Massey made a call that was outside of the regulations.
Massey gave him an opportunity.
He made a call that went against the regulations that put Hamilton at an unfair disadvantage to Verstappen, who was able to take advantage of pitting and putting fresh tyres on, having all the cars removed in between them, and given a 1 lap shot at him. Right? Get that smirk off your face, boy.
Oh, this is all terrible stuff. But continue.
Terrible stuff.
What you're saying is he gave, yes, it's potentially slightly unfair, but he
What-
gave them
okay,
an
let me
opportunity. Both
put-
cars and teams are on track. He gave them an opportunity.
Yeah. An opportunity he didn't deserve. If
Yeah, that's true.
If Verstappen won, it was by a man-made miracle, not an actual miracle.
100%. He gave Max and Red Bull an opportunity. Mercedes could have pitted. They couldn't really. They could have, but you know what I mean? Like, it's... If they pitted, they're
Yeah.
second. They have the better tyres.
Yeah.
In the same situation, assuming it would play out the same, because there's no reason it wouldn't.
Yeah.
The fact is, they didn't pit. Yes, they would have been a harder decision to.
Even if they pitted the first time as well,
yeah,
it
well, yeah.
changes the
Yeah,
outcome.
well, yeah, exactly. Massey gave Red Bull an opportunity.
He
They
certainly
gave
did.
them an opportunity.
certainly
Like
did.
you said, Max
On
still
a
had to make the pass.
gold-plated
Max
platform.
still had to make the pass. And he did.
So hard to make a pass
If
on
Lewis
brand new
defended
tyres.
at that corner like he bloody well should have, all he had to do was park it, do what Max did, weave down the straight like an idiot, park it in the guardrail,
Yeah.
drive him off track the same way.
I'll
know,
give you
it's-
that. I'll give you that. I still do think that the only
He
reason
didn't
he was there.
defend on the last lap of the season.
He
He
did.
didn't defend like one bit.
It almost seemed like before the lap started, he was already defeated.
Yeah,
He
so.
was already, I can't win this.
Like, again, my whole theory and basis is the pace he had out of that hairpin.
All right. We need to wrap this up. So, my final thoughts. Are you an F1 driver?
I'm not.
Okay. So, why do pretty much all F1 drivers, past and present, criticize that decision?
Like
Because
I said,
it was the wrong decision.
I'm not disagreeing with that it was the wrong decision. I'm saying the wrong decision didn't prevent Lewis from defending. It didn't put Max's car up the inside of Lewis at that hairpin.
Sure.
It gave them an opportunity to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Max still had to make the pass. Lewis still had to fail at defending.
So you're happy with how the outcome played out?
Oh, yes, because we're here right now talking about it. Would we be
True.
talking about this race, or would anyone be talking about this race
No.
if Latifi didn't crash, or if,
No.
or God forbid, it finished under safety car?
At the end of the day, Formula One got what it wanted.
The fans got what they wanted.
Right at the peak of the Drive to Survive era as well. You know, you got more eyes on the sport than ever, and then this bullshit happens, and it transcends the sport. Everybody, people who don't even watch Formula One, fucking know what Abu Dhabi 2021 means.
Yes. I agree 100%.
Okay.
And I'd like Chris's take at some point, just quietly.
Yeah. Well, you can ask him about it later.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to side with me though.
We'll see.
Any other final thoughts then?
No.
Yeah.
My final thought is Max earned it.
Max earned it.
Max earned it on track. Yes.
Wow.
With,
think you're right.
Like, again, we don't have to rehash it.
No.
He made the move. Lewis didn't defend. Lewis dropped the ball with the cards against him for sure, but Lewis dropped the ball on.
I'll give you that. I
basic
think
race
he won the
rules.
battle, but I think the war, overall, the bigger picture of it, it was unfair to Lewis.
Okay. I'm not going to rehash everything
No.
we just spoke about, but yeah,
No.
Lewis.
Let's-
Lewis
let's
just
get
had to,
off-
if Lewis defended,
Let's get off camera, and we can continue this. We continue this battle on. This is a never-ending loop.
yes.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right.
What the fuck are we doing here? What a stupid action. I'm going home.